We are very lucky to be joined on the program for the first time by the president of the Amazon Labor Union, Chris Smalls. Welcome to the Damage Report.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Glad to have you here. And while we're talking about appreciation, I appreciate what you've been doing for the movement over the past few years in logging some historic wins, notably, of course, against Amazon. One of the biggest corporations in the history of the planet, finally facing this credible labor movement, and already successes there, of course, as has been covered so much. I know we're going to go broader and talk about your work, across the movement, but where does the effort stand when it comes to Amazon right now? Or are we going to be seeing more successful unionizations there?
Absolutely, of course. We started something that's never going to go away. We're going to have campaigns and elections all across the nation, just like Starbucks. We just filed for another election this past week in Albany, upstate. And we're not going to stop there. We're organizing other facilities right now as we speak. And just like Starbucks, we want to be one of the most powerful unions in the country one day. We want to have representation of Amazon workers and protect workers all across the nation.
Yeah, it's obviously needed. I mean, like the nation has learned a lot throughout the pandemic about how mistreated workers at Amazon are. And at the same time, we went into the pandemic with Amazon workers being so necessary for so much economic output. And that's only gotten bigger during the pandemic. There's a case to be made that they are among the most abused workers in terms of what they contribute and what they get in response. So, really want to see that. What I'd like to find out from you is, I know that because some of these efforts have been so high profile, some people might be for the first time learning how these corporations try to stop it from happening, the ways that they try to dissuade workers from organizing. Is there anything that people might not know about that corporations do to try to pressure workers not to unionize, try to hamper it, that sort of thing?
Well, the most alarming thing is that these corporations break the law every day. By firing workers, they're breaking the law on purpose. They know that the NLRB process takes forever. They know that these laws in this country are weak. They take advantage of that and they fire workers. They retaliate against them, especially if they're pro-union. They put a target on them. They demonize workers and they ruin people's lives. Literally, they make sure that you can't get hired at another job because something's on your resume that has workplace violence or something that they have fired you for just because they made up a story. And this is happening with Amazon workers and Starbucks workers. Retaliation seems to be something of the norm for these corporations because they continue to get away with it.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, obviously you can attest to the individual retaliation, and you have corporations literally shutting down branches. Here in Southern California, there were multiple grocery stores shut down when they started talking about unionization, and the deck is totally stacked against, despite the fact that what they're doing is illegal, it seems impossible to actually have them face any consequences for it. Are there any prospects for changing that, sort of changing the battlefield? How do we get the law to actually be held against these major corporations?
It starts with our elected officials as well. We got to hold them accountable. Everybody's screaming out that they're pro-labor, pro-union, but they're not really standing up for workers, and they're not really putting their pen on paper and where their mouth is. It's always, let's stand in solidarity when the movement is buzzing, but behind closed doors, the laws are not being made to protect us. We have to push this administration, especially now that Biden's claiming to be the most pro-union president ever. We have to make sure that he's held accountable to that, and it doesn't start at the top, it starts from the bottom, and it starts with our city officials, our local politicians as well. They have to be on the picket lines, on the front lines. They have to make sure that these corporations are held accountable and put out bills and pass bills that's going to protect workers immediately.
I was really curious to find out what you thought about these politicians. There's not many, but the ones that do actually show support, that do show up. I wondered could it be considered sort of a distraction in some cases? But you're saying that it is helpful to have those politicians. Are there any that go beyond just the words or maybe a photo op? Are there people that you consider to be actual allies to the movement that are in elected office right now?
I mean, yeah, this is a few, but they have to do a lot more. I definitely support Bernie and how Bernie supported us, vice versa. Respect the fact that he's shown up for us on several occasions, and he continued to communicate with us and lend that solidarity out whenever we need it. But it once again, it's a lot more that not just him, but a lot of politicians, especially on the left, that can be done for these workers, and it hasn't been done yet. And once again, we're running out of time. 2024 is around the corner, and it's still a lot of work to be done. And we don't have that much of a window of opportunity to get it done. So for us as organizers on the ground, we're the ones that have to push these politicians into pretty much doing their jobs.
Yeah, I want to turn in a moment to one of the things you're about to start to do to use this window. But why do you think it is that some of these politicians aren't doing more with their time? Are they afraid of being seen as being anti-corporate? Are they too disconnected from the movement to even understand where they could be a part of it that would be helpful? Why aren't we seeing them actually going out there and engaging with the movement more?
Well, it's a number of things, yeah, there's a disconnect. Of course there is. And a lot of these politicians, we all know they got their hands tied with these corporations. They're taking money, they're taking perks, whatever little backdoor deals they're getting from these corporations. That's the problem right there. They're using them as sponsors. They're donating to their campaigns. Amazon is lobbying. They've been lobbying in DC ever since we left the White House. So all of these things are taking place, and it's not including workers. Workers are not included in these conversations, and that's the problem that we're having. We have to put an end to that, and we have to call it out. Every time we see it or every time we hear about it, we have to call it out so that the public know that these corporations are buying off politicians, and it's not a good thing.
I agree. Yeah, can't be reminded enough. Well, we're right on the precipice of Labor Day, and apparently it's going to be a hot one. Hot Labor Day, summer march. You want to tell us about the event?
Oh yeah, definitely. We trying to bring back the real fire and labor in New York City, especially for Labor Day. I love the fact that everybody's showing up, from Starbucks workers, Trader Joe's, the fashion industry, different industries from across the country are flying in and traveling in ever since we went public with it. And I'm just, proud of the Amazon Labor Union for being a catalyst for all of this, as far as buzzing, as far as the Labor Day and hot labor summer. So New York City, we're gonna march with some billionaires, on Labor Day. We're gonna start at Howard Schultz, Sergeant Schultz. And then we're going to march to Jeff Bezos, which we've been several times. We've done that in the last few years. And then we're going to end off in Times Square, the heart of capitalism. Have some really good speakers there, really powerful stories from workers from all across the country, and some prominent people will be in attendance as well.
Okay, I love to see it. I wish I could be there, but no, I love that you're keeping the spotlight on this. That people know that this is something they can get involved in. Like a lot of people, maybe they feel like there's big barriers to it, but we've seen these movements start and have success. It doesn't take necessarily that long. And there's people who can help. I know you have been involved in helping workers at a lot of different corporations with this, and having leaders like that is so important to let people know that this is not just something that they got to read about in the news, that they can get involved in. It can come to a corporation that they're at. And so, all the credit in the world to you and the people you work with and the work that you do, Chris. I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, appreciate that. And yeah, the fight continues. Solidarity forever. Appreciate it.